So, Linen, it's been a good few years since you reintroduced me to the world of anime, as far back as 2019, and since then we've seen quite a few good ones, I'd like to think.
Yeah, we've seen quite a very good collection of my personal favourites. Um, just to kind of introduce you into the world, I thought it'd be good to show you some of my favourites.
Mm, I'm so glad you did, because you did it at the right time for me when a lot of my entertainment was just not being fun. And some of it still isn't currently fun, but that could change. But for now, for that period of time where I could have had nothing good to watch, you introduced me to the world of anime again. Because I think I mentioned this before, but I have been aware of it before, and I watched a bit of like Attack on Titan when it first aired, and Soul Eater. But I never really felt myself. I was
Yeah, it
in,
never gripped.
in it.
It kind of just clicks for you when you find the right kind of animes you want to watch, and then you're like, oh, there's you start exploring, and you're like, there's so many of the same kind of build for me. Like I like more actiony fighting animes, and so that's just kind of the ones I explored and gravitated towards. And yeah, so we started off with good old fashioned Naruto, didn't we?
God, that feels like a lifetime ago, but that was such a good one to start on. I still remember the first time watching it, and I thought, I probably might not like it, considering it's meant to be like over 300 episodes or something or more. And then we ended up watching it, and I'm like, first episode hooks me already. I'm like, oh, we're in for this. We're in this for the long haul. And my God, it took us a year, but it was a damn good year watching it at least. And I feel like today would be to this episode honestly would be a really good one to highlight some of our favorite fights that we've enjoyed throughout the anime that we've seen since then. So,
And obviously there is so many, so we decided to limit ourselves to 3 each. Of course, spoilers ahead. I just wanted to pick kind of one fight from each anime, but yeah, my list will be as follows.
yeah, and for a bit of wider context, I've actually got a list here of the anime we have watched so far. So since 2019, the anime we have watched is Naruto, all of Naruto,
Including Shippuden.
mhm, My Hero Academia, currently season 1 to 6. We watched the first season of The Promised Neverland.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, really good. I've heard
Haven't seen season 2 yet, so.
Yeah, I've heard it's shit.
Oh, really?
At least it ends badly. So might watch that again one day. Watch it, finish it one day, but that's not the point at the moment. But yeah, after that we watched Jujutsu Kaisen season 1.
Fantastic anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then To Your Eternity, which I'm so proud.
You introduced to me.
Yeah, I'm so glad that happened.
Such a good series. That was it was a really, really good one you recommended there. I'm glad you brought one to me this time. It was special because of that.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. And after that, it was the first season of Vinland Saga.
Yeah,
and
more of a history type one, but yeah, it's still a little golden masterpiece in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Haven't seen the second season. I'm not. We're only talking about with these animes when we talk about them, the seasons we've watched, which we'll clarify when we're talking about.
Yeah, and as of this recording, we are currently in the process of watching the first season of Mob Psycho 100. So that's our current list, and of course there are stuff we are going to be watching after this. A lot of season 2 stuff, honestly. But hey, that means it's good.
I see on your list of intended. There's Boruto.
Yeah, that's been on.
It was on hold for a while.
Yeah, we did. To be fair, we did start Boruto, but we didn't get far. At least I didn't get far. I know you're caught up and all, but in terms of us watching it together after, what's it like? I can't even remember how many episodes, but it was like the Owl arc or something.
Yeah. Oh no, that's quite a few episodes in. We watched about 80 or so episodes, and not really much happened, apart from the movie was very good. But it's weird that with the movie, the fight scene is actually different than in the show. of the exact same scene.
Really?
The enemy is slightly different. Yeah,
Oh, I can't remember.
I'll
But
have to show you the difference because it is actually quite fascinating. But it's yeah, we watched both. I remember showing you both before. Because after we watched the film, I was like, no, the show's fight is better for the end game, but so I showed you like that separately afterwards.
yeah. Oh, but yeah, that's currently the anime we've watched, and that's probably what we will be pulling from in terms of our choices. And yeah, I feel like we can start off with our first pick, and I would like to clarify: there's no structure to this in terms of order. Like this is our favorite fight, so and so. They're just like this is just the three we picked. There's no one's better than the other, and so
Yeah,
because they're all amazing in their own right,
just
really.
the top three that if we had to pick, would be, yeah, in no particular order. Those would be the crowning ones.
Hmm. So the first fight. Would you like to start with yours?
Yeah, I would love to start with mine. The first fight that kind of came to mind for me when I thought about this was a fight from Jujutsu Kaisen. Probably because it's either fresh in my mind from us watching it not too long ago. So this fight kind of just stands out to me when I particularly think about it. It's the fight between Itadori and Kento Nanami, the business blonde haired guy with the glasses, fighting the patchwork villain Mahito. Or I don't actually know how to say his name, but it sounds like Mahito, and I find that funny. But he is he's the patchwork villain that, yeah, everyone would know if they've seen the show. And that particular fight stands out to me because it's the first time I've seen such a well animated, free flowing fight where you kind of get to see Itadori start to come into his own, fighting a more powerful kind of opponent with a mentor there. So there's a kind of like thing between where he gets to see how powerful Itadori is becoming, which is very, very satisfying. But the way he just physically beats the absolute crap out of the patchwork guy, just the scene where they're both absolutely smacking him, and it goes into slow mo of the guy getting beaten before he opens the personal dimension, or what's it called? Special move that they do.
In a dimension or something.
Yeah, so something like that. So yeah, that just fight stuck out to me because you get to see kind of two characters shine for the first time properly, and you get to see what their powers are about. But it's the way it's animated. Things really feel like they connect. It almost reminded me of the fights between Naruto and Sasuke the first time they fought like properly one on one. When Sasuke was leaving the village in Naruto. When they like the way it was animated when they punched, it like really like moved part of their body, and like it really felt meaty, the fighting, which is something Boruto is completely lacking. But Jujutsu Kaisen has it down, and the impacts feel brutal. Like it feels like this guy can take a lot of damage, but oh my god, they're killing this man. And it was the first time in a long time I watched a fight and literally was like jumping out of my chair in excitement because I was just like, oh fuck, dude. Like I didn't think they would actually like just show the fight to be that intense. It stood out for me. That was one of the first ones that come to mind.
Okay. Also, yeah, that's good. That's a nice choice, and also one that I don't think people would highlight a lot because a lot of people I think would probably go to a lot of the
It's one
JoJo
of
fights.
it's one of the kind of earlier fights. Like there's other fights that stand out, but I didn't want to pick the straight up obvious. And this is kind of the first one that came to mind for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed that fight. It's one I can watch over and over again.
Oh, neat. Yeah, for me, consider a pattern here. I guess I'll go with my Jujutsu pick as well because I
Yeah.
have a fight from in my list,
It's to be
and
expected. It's fantastic anime.
yeah, and again, there's so many good ones. I strongly thought I was going to pick one for Gojo because he's just such a fun character, but also some of his fights are so like they're beyond like how
Yeah,
to describe it. Because
yeah.
like you don't you see how powerful he is from the start, but then he just starts
You
doing
don't
more
feel
stuff.
like it's much of a struggle for him.
Yeah,
compared to the other characters.
it's a wow moment, but it's not like as you said. Yeah, it doesn't feel part of the main. Again, I'm struggling with explaining it. I'll get to the point, I guess, then, because the fight I chose in the end was actually the last fight of season one, really, which is the fight between um Yuji and Nobara, and
Yeah,
it's those two fighting
Nobara.
against the Cursed Brothers. And I remember that fight specifically just because by this point it was the end of the season, and they were they were quite they were very formidable in their way, but to have that moment at the end where we think they're at a death moment where they're gonna die, and then their teamwork is just able to pull through, and then the music kicks in. That last
Yeah,
track,
that last track where it goes dun 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 dun
dun,
dun
dun,
dun dun
dun,
dun,
dun, dun, dun.
and then cuts. Yeah, it's the way like the camera cuts between both of our MCs there, and it's that is an absolute solid choice of a fight. Absolutely solid
Yeah,
choice.
it might just be down to the music and the animation, but even in terms of the story too,
Well,
these
you get
two.
to see the female lead in this as well actually take a shine, um, but like she has been in her fights before, but this is the fight where she really stood out for me. I was like, damn, that is so cool. The way that she injured herself almost like a voodoo doll and it injured the other guy. And oh, it's so cool. I
Yeah,
loved that power. I was like, that is such a good way to do her power.
yeah, it's mainly the teamwork and camaraderie between the two, but the lengths they go to like, oh, you are not going to beat us, we are going to beat you, and it's just so. It's for the last fight of the season. It didn't feel like an end game fight, but it felt more like a emotional. These two have been on a journey since they first met at the beginning of the season, and now they're perfectly good team comrades together, and they're able to do all this against very dangerous villains. And that I thought that stood out to me a lot out of all the other fights, honestly. And that's my first choice.
My second choice, of course, that I was thinking a bit too kind of hard about the fights, and then one just kind of came to me out of the blue. And I was like, oh yeah, how could I forget Rock Lee versus Gaara in the first season of Naruto? Wow, what a fight! That was the fight that made me absolutely fall in love with Naruto.
Hmm.
The fight, everything about it is spectacularly epic. The way they put up this potentially really strong new guy, Rock Lee, just casually tosses Sasuke to the side with just taijutsu, and you're like, oh fuck, dude! Like, there's stronger characters. What do you mean? This is a child, and he goes in to this fight, and you're like, yeah, this guy's strong. And then Guy explains that he has only taijutsu, so he's limited. He's really strong, but he's limited in only perfecting his taijutsu skills. Um, Gara, however, is set up to be this like no one has touched this kid. He's a demon. People are scared of him. Like Hokages are scared of him. Like,
Yeah, and from how I remember it, at least they set him up. They set it up quite early on that he's like Naruto. He's got a Jinchuriki inside him.
yes, set him up to be similar to Naruto. So you'd think they'd pit them two together. But of course, they've got to warm this shit up, man. And the way they do that is they make Rock Lee versus Gara, and dude, I'm so glad it happened. I did not expect it at the time as well. I was like, oh, this is going to be Naruto's fight now. It's going to be against Gara, and we're going to see like a Jinchuriki fight just break out. And no, that's not what happened at all. They put up Rock Lee, and I was like, oh, what? And then they start explaining kind of his backstory and stuff during the fight as they do. The most epic moment in that fight is when he's like dashing around. He's like, I need more speed. I'm not gonna be able to hit him. He's like realizing his punches just not connecting. His sand is too quick. So he asks permission to take off his weights and takes off leg weights, and everyone's just kind of like, oh, what's the little weight gonna do? And he drops them, and the way it just for a second he goes because they're so heavy, it's like it actually creates impacts on the floor underneath him. And then everyone looks back and he's gone and the fight has begun again. It's just like he's darting about the place. One of the most amazing things about this fight is I was like, this is so cool. He's got him now. Garrus flips the table yet again and he's okay. And in order to get more power, Lee needs to get even stronger, and he opens some of the gates that we see. And by God, it was the most epic moment of just my anime watching experience. Just being able to be that excited about seeing a character not just be like kind of standardly very, very powerful, but not quite powerful enough to do this fight, and then he powers up again, and then it's very the power up type is very kind of Super Saiyan-y. It's heavily inspired by like Dragon Ball. Naruto is, so like even Naruto's costume is heavily inspired by Goku's costume. The power up that Rock Lee does when it is like turns red and his hair starts standing up and he has a green aura. That's pretty much he's just gone Super Saiyan. Obviously, going Super Saiyan is a lot stronger than Rock Lee's gates, but I just love the idea that everyone was very shocked at him being able to awaken his power because it's so it's like a forbidden thing to learn because it's like it destroys your body by learning it. And he's so determined to win this fight, he just keeps going and going. And then the moment the fight ends with Rock Lee's defeat, he stands back up to fight again, and then everyone realizes he's unconscious. His unconscious body has the will to fight. What do you mean? That is so cool. Yeah, that whole fight was something special to me. It was it's a very, very, very intense fight, and it's the fight that made me fall in love with my favourite anime series of all time, Naruto.
Wow, man, that's a nice choice, mate. God damn it. Now I'm feeling like my choice is going to be very generic.
No, go for it.
Because my second, again, there's no order, but my second choice, and it is also Naruto. My choice is actually the fight between Naruto, Uzumaki, and Pain from the Pain arc.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm specifically talking about their one-on-one fight. But I think what stood out to me, because as you've said, there have been so many standout fights in Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. And I mean, just now I'm thinking of the fight between Guy and Madara. And I feel like that, I originally thought that was going to be my choice because seeing that moment where he fights Madara and gives it his all the gates open and all that jazz, and he almost gives his life. That's a moment where I feel like, how is this not the end game? This should be the defeat of the bad guy, but it isn't. But he went that far. But with this fight, I remember specifically this fight stood out to me when we were watching it because I knew at the back of my head that this wasn't the end game because we still had a lot of episodes to go through until we got to the end. But this fight, at this point in the story, really did feel like, is this really the end game? Is this the secret? Is this a surprise twist that you didn't tell me? That this is how the story is going to end, and then the rest of the series is basically all about the side characters or something, or maybe it's technically a third sequel series to Naruto or something, like he's reborn or something. But this, with everything that happened, like with Konoha being practically destroyed, a lot of characters seemingly dying throughout it, and then when you finally get Naruto in, and he's giving it his all with everything he's learned.
Just his appearance alone in that scene, when he's just in the nick of time mastered Sage Jutsu, and the music kicks in when Sakura screams out Naruto, and then he appears, and the camera zooms out and out and out. He's on like a massive toad with a smaller toad on top, with a smaller toads on top of that, and then 3 others around him.
Yeah, and
it's a cool new look. His Sage mode, arms crossed. He is pissed.
just like that Jujutsu bit we did earlier. They have, I forget what the instrument's called, but it sounded like bamboo being hit together. But that music cue when it's,
I'm not sure what the actual.
and it's
Yeah.
just seeing Naruto standing on those toes. It's like, oh my god, you're finally here! please, please save us. But even then, he gives it his all, and yet he still loses. He partially loses, and we don't explain the whole scenario, but what that stood out to me because not only did it feel like such a big thing in the story at this point, but up to this point, Naruto has been training for so long, and he's just mastered the sage power, and the fact that that still wasn't enough, but he still kept trying even afterwards, and to the point where he almost lost control and let out his Jinchuriki, when he almost let out Kurama. That stood out, and also with Pain too, just how he was just like so like I'm doing this because I have to. You all know Pain. It's like, God, it was so good.
Like it's one of the fights that made you feel for the villain when talk no jutsu did not work. Where he tried to reason with the bad guy for the first time during combat when he's talking to the puppet of pain, and he like tries to explain his side of view and then just gets rebutted by something that even makes Naruto stop and think, and it's like, oh shit, dude.
God, yeah, yeah. Again, I'm struggling to really explain it in deeper depths compared to your one. But I have to say, mate, this was definitely a highlight for me for watching Naruto Shippuden, just because with everything happened story wise, character wise, and even how the animation did go. Because when it got to near that end point where the animation almost got a bit janky, a
Yeah.
bit, it felt like it was needed in that moment when everything is just getting so chaotic, and so like this is like you guys are like breaking the limit at this point. You almost have to like break space or something.
Yeah, when Pain is against the puppet of Pain is against the Nine Tails. Wow, that is a moment. Yeah, the animation does get a bit jank, but I felt it was very needed to kind of almost show that it's like foreshadowing that this is a puppet. You know, it's like it's very elastic, very kind of like very dead, doesn't feel anything. You know, when the Ninetales smashed the rock over his head and he just like gets smashed into the ground unfazed. You know, you start to realize, okay, how is Naruto going to do this if not even the Ninetales could do this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's what I really have to say on that. It's just with everything that went on story wise and how it was executed and how I felt at that moment. That I mean, again, some of the fights after that were equally amazing, and some of them before equally wonderful.
But
But
yeah, like that, we could just go on and on about Naruto's fights. Like this could be a just all Naruto fights.
it could honestly. But talking about moments that I always remember when I look back and think of Naruto, this fight is always a standout for me, and I always remember my feelings when I was watching that for the first time. So, what's your third choice?
Funny enough, more Naruto. Specifically, the fights between Might Guy and Madara, which you touched on a little bit the last.
Ah, nice.
Um, that fight stood out to me because it was such a kind of colossal moment. The war had been going on for so long. There's been so many stages of this gigantic war arc, which is just constant fighting, constant fighting. And it builds up to this moment where everyone is exhausted. There's no one left, and the only thing they know that works against this guy is taijutsu, but you can't get close to him because he'll kill you. So they call in the professional Might Guy, and it's like it's time.
I just want to interject here. I have to say, I still remember vividly the moment we think Madara is going to send a kill shot at at the heroes, and we don't see what happens, but something blocks it. And then, as the music cues kicking in, suddenly Kakashi is just like, finally, you showed up, and it cuts to Guy. And I remember both of us just going, yes,
Yeah.
yes, fuck yes.
It was such an intense moment, and to see Might Guy go all out finally, And he's like, "There's no longer the blue beast. It's got to make way for the red beast." And he like activates the death gate for the 8 inner gates, and becomes the strength of all the Hokages combined. Essentially, and it's the same thing his father did for him to protect him from the 7 ninja of the mist, and he actually killed most of them. I think he wiped them out. Actually, he killed all of them and then died from the death gate. Yeah,
Damn.
or
Father,
or
yeah.
most of them. I think 1 or 2 may have escaped. I don't remember, but like he was only a genin, and he opened the gates and became about the strength of a Hokage. My guy is about the strength of just like a super elite ninja, and yet his power like gets so big he can take on a literal god. When Madara gets his god powers, and you're like, we're fucked. My guy comes in to save the day, and that fight between Madara and Guy is something special. The way the music kicks in, and he's like literally kicking air, breaking bones, doing this to try and get in close and close the distance. And the teamwork that goes on, where the 4th Hokage, Naruto's dad, Minato, like swoops, uses like his teleportation, even though he has no arms at this point. I think he only has.
I think he's got both his legs or something, but both his arms have been damaged.
Yeah, and they're not reforming. So he they throw one of his Lee actually throws the kunai perfectly, gets on time, takes away the potential threats from Mike Guy, so he can close the distance, gets in close, and the way when he kicks him full on, and like you see his ribs break, you're like, oh no, he's done it. And then Madara persists, and you're like, fuck. But just the moment where he gives it his all, you're like, damn, that's cool. And that makes way for just before he dies for our main hero to pop up. Naruto saves him by kicking away an orb.
Thank God.
Which originally would kill you with a single touch, and he just kicks it away after his newfound power.
I gotta add also, what made that fight even much more memorable was Guy's first reaction to Madara, and also Madara's reaction to him at the end. Because his first words when he sees Madara are, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
or something along those lines, and that's pretty much in character with Guy. But it's like, oh yeah, you're still, in spite of all this chaos, despite who this guy is, you're still you. And then that ends as the fight goes on, and Madara himself declares Guy to be the strongest
Taijutsu,
the strongest fighter he's ever faced.
Yeah,
It's
the strongest Taijutsu user that ever lived. And yeah, no, that's big. That's big. And yeah, that was an amazing moment where you're like, yes, Mike Guy is complete now. That's him done. His story should end there.
Yeah, I'm glad. People might say it's a shame he didn't die, because that might have made it a bit more poignant. I'm personally just glad he did survive, because after the war, I think everyone deserved a break.
Yeah.
And there are some characters I feel like they deserve just to be able to retire. And we haven't gone that far in Boruto to know if he appears in it or not. I think he does appear in a few points that we did see, but as far as I'm aware, he retired. He's living a nice quiet life, enjoying exercising when he can.
Which is all the time.
Yeah.
He walks on his hands most of the time in Boruto.
God, yeah, I remember that from the wedding.
Yeah. Or he's in a wheelchair. But he even has some cool scenes in Boruto as well. Early on, yeah.
Maybe one day we might just check those bits out.
Yeah, maybe we'll just go through the good bits.
Yeah, because Guy is worth it.
I'm waiting for Boruto Kai to come out, and then I can watch it properly, because there's so much filler. I can't tell what is filler in main episode, and it's just boring me to death. So
yeah, I mean, I've heard through the grapevine that it's reached its Shippuden phase now. Like it's Boruto Vortex Blue or something.
God knows, I don't even know anymore.
Yeah, me neither. I just know that okay, maybe we might get back into it at some point near the end, or when we feel like there's something we can find that's good. But for the moment, I think we're content and just know we saw the full story of Naruto.
Yeah, that was the story that mattered anyway. Fuck you, Boruto.
Oh, damn. Well, in that case, I think it's quite fitting to close off with my last one. And this one, I would say, stood out to me equally so in terms of its narrative and the story behind it. Because the fight, I think, is amazing. I don't think it's like the be all end all fights of the anime in particular, because I'm referring to the fight between Izuku Midoriya and Shoto Todoroki from My Hero Academia from the sports festival arc. And but I think what stands out to me at the time and even now, thinking back on it, considering during the 6 seasons that we have watched, and so yeah, for context, basically they're in a school, and again, we don't need to go into depth about it because you should know about it if you're watching this list. But essentially, Todoroki, he's like he's not had the best childhood, and he's determined to prove himself. Izuku, equally so, is determined to prove himself, considering the mantle he's been placed on him with his powers. So you've got both sides. You can see why they're doing what they need to do, and you want both of them to win in a way because you feel like, oh, but then
You're rooting for both sides at that point.
yeah, even though one is somewhat flawed, but what comes out of that is so wonderful. It's two people basically just trying to, more specifically, it's Izuku because he's the protagonist, of course, but he's trying to. The fight isn't about just beating him; it's about helping him, trying to help himself, really, trying to embrace the part of him that he's refusing, that Shoto is refusing to let out, out of spite, and the whole. This is a turning point, just in the sense that this is when two people, two strangers, really, two classmates, become friends, and that to me is so powerful. The moment you're able to look at this person and say, thank you for doing what you did, and the fact that they're still friends 6 seasons on, and it's it's beautiful to me. Again, I don't want to let my personal biases getting in terms of my own life, but it's just to have a friend that to have someone else who really just went out of their way to help you in your darkest time speaks volumes to me of character. Add on, because this is an anime after all, add on the amazing fight and the powers and how they utilize them, and Izuku too, because she's trying to help. But he's also like, I'm determined to equally win too. I'm not going to give up. And he destroys his fingers so many times.
Yeah, it's that battle is absolutely brutal for our protagonist, Midoriya. He goes through a lot in that fight, and he does not give up, and he doesn't back down without a fight, even though his powers are flawed at that point. The control of it is, it's just such an incredible fight where both of them are flawed with their powers because one is not using their full powers and the other is accidentally using his full power all the time and focusing it on his fingers, which is just a moment of brilliance as you realise, yeah, oh, if he punches, he's not going to have an arm, he only has two arms, so he has two punches. It's like two shocks and you have to break your arm to do it. But no, he just keeps breaking fingers, man. And it's cool, and it almost foreshadows what will happen later in the season when he gets to like flick compressed air almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do love this fight.
Yeah.
And it's got absolutely amazing animation as well in it. Like the actual flow of the fight, especially near the end when they go out and use their full power.
Yeah, and also the music too. I think again, My Hero has one of those animated soundtracks that's just so it gets you pumped up every single time it kicks in.
You Say Run.
Yeah,
wow.
and that moment. I'll still remember that moment too. The moment they collided and the entire arena just exploded. It was so. I literally out of breath when that happened.
Yeah,
and the fact that we got a great friendship out of that afterwards, and it's just it's memorable is the best way I can describe it, because as we said, there's so many other fights that have highlights and moments that make you remember them. For me, what makes me really love this moment is just the fact that what came out of this was a friendship. but also these two kids really showing their true character, trying to be the best heroes, and learning and accepting when they need to do better. And yeah, that's all. That's all I really have to add on that. Really, that's my favorite. That's one of my favorite fights, really, and that's why I still love My Hero Academia, even when it gets to a point where it's a bit up and up or down and down, but it's so good, so good.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal fight through and through. And that there is our lists.
Yeah.
Our top threes, in our opinions.
Yeah. And again, we should reiterate: there's none of these are better than the other, but in terms of the journey we've both gone on as friends, watching these amazing shows, these are the ones that stood out with a variety of amazing reasons. And again, if you, I know this isn't going to be. Hopefully, no one here is watching this and they haven't seen these, because in that case, we've spoiled some of the.
Well, I did warn spoilers beforehand. It's your own fault.
Yeah,
but if this didn't entice you to actually watch it, then nothing will. But these fights are definitely just up there with what I imagine is almost everyone's favorite, as well as like my personal own that stands out to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really, just if you haven't seen it, somehow watch them, because these moments are worth it. If you have watched it, good on you. And in that case, watch it again.
And if you think there's other fights that are potentially you don't agree with us, and you think that there's much better fights out there, pop them in the comments. Maybe we'll give them a watch.
I'm curious, and again, there's a lot of stuff we still have yet to watch in the pipeline for us. Stuff we likely won't ever talk about on the channel, considering what's coming. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of stuff we have yet to get to see that might, who knows, maybe one day might blow this list out of the water.
Yeah,
but
they'll always be bigger and better, hopefully. But those ones close to the heart. Can't beat Naruto. There's three of our top threes each had Naruto in it. So that says volumes. If you haven't watched Naruto, do yourself a favor.
God, yeah, that is.
Shut off Boruto. That's trash. Stick on some Naruto.
Couldn't have said it better. And with that, I'd like to make this a little special announcement epilogue here. This is Liln. This is his last episode.
It's my final one. I'm here, and then I was gone. God. It's actually quite sad. Yeah.
Honestly, it's still kind of crazy to me to think we were doing this. We have been doing this for 5 years now.
5 fucking years. That is ludicrous. It doesn't feel like 5 years at all.
God, I still remember when you did your first episode with me, and it was the Jurassic Park one.
Oh God, yeah.
God, I still strongly remember the bloopers at the end with your dog just like in the background, just making such noise, and that being a highlight moment, because that wasn't planned. But the conversation too was just fun. But I'm so glad that I got you involved, mate, because you're my best friend, and to get you involved in one episode was amazing. To have you stick with me throughout the long haul, and we've now done, I want to say over 30 episodes, 35 maybe.
Yeah, it's been quite a lot.
It's been
we've rambled on for many an hour.
God, if someone was to compile all of our conversations together, we probably would be a full season of an anime.
Yeah, and I reckon 90% of the conversation would have been about Naruto.
You're not wrong,
I always tend to gravitate towards it. I apologise for that. But thank you so much for having me on Grey Owl. It's been an experience.
Thank you so much for being an amazing guest host, a recurring guest host, really. No, you know what? No, you are a main host, because the amount of hours you put in with this channel has been amazing. And as I said in my little thank you post for the 5-year anniversary date, I couldn't have done this with any of you I couldn't have done this without any of you. You all brought your own unique voice to Grey Owl, and Grey Owl wouldn't work with just me. I'm being brutal on that part, because let's face it, when it's just me, kind of boring. But
it's good to have a conversation with someone. but I'll be expecting my paycheck by next week.
Oh shit.
No, but it's been really nice to just like have a conversation about stuff that we're passionate about the shows that we like, why we like them, to get our points out, to explain from just a regular viewer's point of view, like how we feel about certain things and how it makes us feel. It's nice to talk about, you know, especially with someone you get along with very well, you know, being best buds. So yeah, no, this has been an experience. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you, mate. And with that, I'm happy to say this is the end of an era for us two with this channel, but it was so worth it, and thank you.
And who knows, if Star Wars or Boruto pisses us off enough, there might be another episode.
Oh, you had to say it. God damn it.
But yeah, the end of an era. Cool.
It was a worldwide, and it was fun. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.